Hari Om Renuji.
Hari Om.
First, talk about mom and her association with Pujya Gurudev.
I'm going to tell you basically what I heard from my mother. And she was probably in the year 1943, early 40s, early to mid 40s. She was a little girl who had been sent from her parents, sent by her parents to live with her uncle, her father's elder brother. So she went to that house so she could study in Delhi. That was Karol Bagh, 16 Karol Bagh, something like that. And so she went to that house to study. Now, in that house, there was her uncle, who was a little bit elderly by then, and his son, named Narendra, which you told me. I knew him only as Babu Bhai Sahab. But the son, and then the son's new wife, brand new wife. And then after a year, that brand new wife had a brand new son. So now this Babu Bhai Sahab, who was my mother's first cousin, he was about 15, 20 years older than she was.
Oh.
So, but my mother became very good friends with that young wife, who was only 12 years older. And that wife was Kanta Bhabi. So mom went to stay there with Babu Bhai Sahab and Kanta Bhabi and her Tauji. Babu Bhai Sahab's best friend was a young journalist named Balakrishna Menon. My mother knew him only as Balan Bhai Sahab. And so Balan Bhai Sahab used to come and go from the house. Young Malati didn't know what he was doing. She just knew that he came there and he played with, you know, with her. He talked to everybody. A year after Babu Bhai Sahab's marriage, the baby was born, and Babu Bhai Sahab got sick. And I don't know what it was. My mother kind of thought that it might be tuberculosis. Those were pre-penicillin days, and it seemed to be a consumptive disease, and that it took a couple of years. And over those years, Babu Bhai Sahab got progressively weaker and weaker, and he died. So during that illness, a couple of years, then Balan Bhai Sahab used to act as the son of the family, and so he used to go and bring medicines and whatever needed to be done, because, you know, Babu Bhai Sahab's father is elderly, he has a young wife and a baby. So that household was...
So Narendra Shroff ji did not have mother?
No, no. The mother had passed away long before.
Oh, right.
So,
okay.
So, and I think that probably played a big part in the role that Balan Bhai Sahab played in that house.
Oh.
So he would go very frequently to that house to help them. In the beginning, he went there as it was a second home to him, a local home in Delhi. But increasingly, he went there to be of service to that family. What she tells me about that period is that she was a little girl. Babu Bhai Sahab was tall and handsome and dapper, and so was Balan Bhai Sahab, you know, very, very tall and majestic and handsome. So these two were best friends, and she used to just look up at them and think, wow, you know, these are like, they are cool, you know, for a little girl.
Yeah.
They were super cool.
Yeah.
And they used to laugh and be very jovial. The way she describes Babu Bhai Sahab, he's very, probably very, very compatible personality-wise to how we experience Sri Swamiji. But anyway, I remember one thing that Babu Bhai Sahab was very ill, and he was making jokes and things, and somebody asked him, my mother remembers, somebody asked him, how can you be so cheerful? How can you, you know, laugh like this? You're dying. How are you like this? And he said something like, this is what my mother remembers, something like, I'm dying, but you know, you don't all have to die with me. And if I don't laugh, why would you even want to come to see me? So, you know, he was a very worldly man, yet he had that detachment. My mother's recollection is that he stayed on, he performed the last rites for Babu Bhai Sahab, and he stayed on with the family for a short while. After Babu Bhai Sahab passed away, then within a year after that, my mother left the house, because probably whatever, I don't know why. In 1953, she got married, and then soon after that, they left the country to come to Canada. So she only knew that he has become Swami Chinmayananda, but there was no contact until 1974. our family was living in Palo Alto, and my parents, who had been very active, they were the early Indians in this area, so they had their, they were the people who brought up many of the institutions in this area, so they were everywhere. So they went to a dinner at the Consul General's house in San Francisco, and there was Swami Chinmayananda, surrounded by, I believe, Nalini Browning, maybe Rudit, and maybe Umanti, some of, among these people. So Mom said, oh, there's Swami Chinmayananda. And she went up to him, and she reverted back to that little girl, and she said, Balan Bhai Sahab. He said, you, again, I wasn't there, this is how people describe it. Malati, is that you? Like that, and yes, Swamiji, it's me. No, yes, Balan Bhai Sahab, it's me. And he said, you, and she introduced her husband, and she said, I have children. You have children? And he laughed and, amazed. And then she acted like a little sister would. And she said, Balan Bhai Sahab, you never came to my house. He said, and meanwhile, what I heard is that Nalini Browning and these other people are saying, you can't talk to Swamiji like that. You're not allowed to do that. But Malati didn't care, right? He said, Balan Bhai Sahab, you didn't come to my house. He said, well, call me to your house and I'll come. And she said, I'm calling you now. So he said, Rudit, or whoever was there, he said, put it on my calendar. I want to go to Malati's house. And so that's the first contact she'd had with him in over 25 years.
And how would he treat your father as?
Well, he treated her as he tolerated her like her younger sister tantrums, and that's how she acted for several days. So what happened is that Swamiji then came to our house the following year, within about 8-9 months after that. And he came to our house for days. My mother still thought of him as Balan Bhai Sahab, and she didn't touch his feet, because in our families, the girls don't touch the brothers' or parents' feet. And he kind of treated Papa, in my view, kind of like a son-in-law, a little bit, because he treated Malati still as a sister, because that's how she acted towards him.
Oh, yeah.
And he called him Rajendra Babu, which nobody else has ever called Papa, just Rajendra Babu. But within a few days of Swamiji's being at our house, after about 6-7 days, he was with us for 10 days at that time, and we didn't realize that we were in heaven. We just didn't know. We thought it was just normal to have him at our house. But after 6 or 7 days, she went to him and she also prostrated. And Swamiji just stood up straight. He said, Malati, you too? And then he laughed and laughed and laughed.
From sister to a disciple.
Yeah. In our house, a lot of people used to come, and people were trying to be helpful, because there would be 20-30 people in our house 3 times a day, right? And Mom used to cook for them. And Swamiji tried to protect her in the beginning. He said, you don't have to cook for everybody. And Mom said, no, they've come to see you, I'll cook for everybody. So he said, come, Annapurna is feeding everybody, like that. He said to Mom, you are Annapurna. And Mom just said, so somebody was trying to be helpful. There was sugar in one bowl, and then somebody must have put salt in a bowl. And some third person must have thought it's a good idea to mix them together. So now we have a bowl of salt and sugar together. And then one morning, Papa said to Mom, look, I need to talk to Swamiji, so let me take him his morning tea. So Mom said, fine, I can get started on the cooking. So Papa took his tea, the teapot and everything, and I was there because I'm supposed to run around and help if I can, right? So Papa made his tea, put in the milk, put in the sugar, stirred it, put in the sugar, and gave it to Swamiji. Swamiji took it, sipped it, tasted it, didn't say a thing. Then he said, Rajendra Babu, what about you? Where's your tea? No, Swamiji, I'll have. No, you should have tea. Renu, go. So I ran scampering off. I brought a teacup and the tea. Swamiji said, let me make it. He poured the tea for him. Now he's watching, right? Because that's what he does. He watches like this. And Papa took a sip and he went like that. And he said, see, you tried to poison me. See, Renu, see that? He tried to poison me. And for years after that, he would just joke with Papa. He'd say, he tried to poison me.
So far you have narrated so well about mom's relation with Pujya Gurudev and Papa's relation with Pujya Gurudev. Now, let's come to your wonderful journey, your early years and early memories with Pujya Gurudev. What mischievous pranks you have done with Pujya Gurudev, and how was what type of bonding that you had with Pujya Gurudev. So those memories you need to share now.
Thank you. So, this whole interview process is a bit of a journey for me too, because I feel that I'm actually learning things about my relationship with Gurudev. And one thing I'm realizing is that I enjoyed a close relationship with Gurudev. Two things. One, I really feel that it was my good fortune that I happened to be the daughter of my parents. That's what really brought me to Swamiji. But the other thing that I just want to say is that I think we all had a very special relationship with Swamiji, and he was the true Krishna in that each one of us, without fail, thought that, Swamiji loves everybody, but he really loves me best. I know that. And we knew intellectually that he loves everybody, but in my heart, I was his favorite, which means that he was the true Krishna, that he really made me feel that I alone am dancing with him, and he made every one of us feel that way. That's an amazing
beauty of Pujya Gurudev.
He was. Now I understand that painting, where there's Krishna, 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 and all the gopis. I understand it because I met that person. I met that Krishna. Anyway, Swamiji came to our house when I was, I think, 14 or 15, and I was not receptive to the idea of a Swami coming to our house because I thought I was very smart and I didn't need a Swami, and anyway, Swamis are probably not really what they're cut up to be. And so Swamiji came into our house and I was prepared to reject him. And this tall, majestic figure strode in through the front door, I think surrounded by Rudit and Umanti. And I was like, my mother asked me, this is very strong in my mind, she asked me to take a cup of tea to Swamiji. And I was a well-brought-up child. I was. But on that day, I decided to assert my, whatever it was, I don't know if it was, rebellion. So instead of handing the tea to Swamiji properly, as I should have, I went like, here, here, you want tea? Take it. So Swamiji, he's sitting down and I'm standing up, and he looked at me and he said, thank you, thank you, like that. And he just made such a theatrical fuss about it that, of course, you're flabbergasted. You don't expect that. And so I was like, okay, as soon as I could let go of the cup of tea, I went scampering into the corner and say, like, what just happened to me, right? What did he just do? And he followed me with his eyes. And wherever I went, he followed me and he watched me. So I was very unnerved by this time. And I was also grudgingly admiring of him, grudgingly. But I was also a little bit, And he was following me wherever I went. And then he said after a while, you are exactly like your mother. And what I know now is that indeed I was the age that my mother had been, and I looked just like her. I was wearing different clothes, but I had long, pigtails, and I must have looked just like her. And so that is kind of God's grace or Guru's grace or something that I got to have that connection.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't know if he liked me any better, but it reminded him. So anyway, so that evening, now I don't know what to think of him. Do I like him? Have I changed my mind about him? I don't really know. But I went to the lecture, and within a short time of listening to his lecture, I don't even know what I understood. I don't even remember the content, but what I remember is knowing deep, viscerally that he knows. Just he knows. He has all the answers. I don't understand them, but now I know that there are answers.
Did you attend any of Gurudev's camps as a youth?
Oh, every one of them. That was the central thing when I was a youngster. Everything was planned around when he's coming next year. My leave when I was working, I arranged my leave in advance. I wanted to travel with him. My parents were never in favor of much in favor of my traveling with him. And so after Swamiji came, then I would say, Swamiji, in front of my parents, I'd say, Swamiji, can I go with you? And he'd look at my parents and he'd say, yes, my child will come with me. And my parents would say, of course, Swamiji. You know, as if, oh, no problem at all. Which they would not have said had I brought it up elsewhere. But in front of him, they said, yeah. And they made my tickets and everything.
Your travel experiences with Gurudev, share some of them.
You know, he expected that when I'm traveling, when anyone is traveling with him, I saw it with others too, that they will stay right with him. He had an enormous sense of responsibility for anybody traveling with him, especially young people and any women. And so should I tell this story? I've told it before about the car.
Yeah, of course he is, of course he is.
So this is a very poignant experience in my mind. I was about 18 or 19, and we were in Pittsburgh, and the lecture was over, and Swamiji was returning to the hotel, and the car that he was in was already filled up. But my instructions had been, you have to come and go with Swamiji. So not knowing what else to do, I circled the car, thought, you know, can I squeeze in the back? It doesn't look like there's any room there. So it was a hatchback. So I opened the hatchback and I climbed in. And so I'm just sitting there waiting for the car to start. And suddenly, Swamiji's looking inside the hatchback. And he said, what are you doing? I said, Swamiji, I have to stay with you, so I'm here. So I said, okay. So he got inside. He climbed inside the car. This is in 1979, so, you know, he's not extremely young. But he climbed into the hatchback. And then the other people came around and they said, ha 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 ha, Swamiji, very funny, let's go. You know, please come out of the hatchback and we'll go. And he said, no, I'm here. So anyway, so the car started and I'm sitting there in the hatchback of the car very comfortably because I was short, but he was tall. And so he had to hunch over a little bit. And the car started moving and now we're here. So he said to me, you can tell your grandchildren about that you sat with your guru in the dicky. So interestingly enough, that's the first time I really understood that he's my guru. I just never labeled him that way. So suddenly, in a second, all the teachings that he said from the lectern about the guru, how you follow the guru is everything, the guru is like this. Suddenly, all of that fell into place in my head that he's my guru. Somehow I didn't realize that before, but I did now. And anyway, so we were riding along. It was probably a 20-minute ride. And he started to get uncomfortable. And he said, he kind of grimaced and he said, my back hurts, you know, because he was hunched over. And so I wanted to do something to make him comfortable, arrange something, have him move over. And I was quite distressed. And he looked at me. Of course, I'm sure I cried. And he said, is this back so precious to you? If this back is so precious to you, when I'm dead, you can have it. which is actually not at all comforting, right? I wasn't helpful, so I kept crying probably. And then he suddenly looked out the window. We were facing each other, and he looked out, I think, the side or something. He looked back like that. He said, see that car going? And there was a car that was right alongside of us. So I looked at the car. I said, yeah, I see that car. He said, see, it's damaged. There's some damage on the car. I said, yeah, the paint is chipped. And he said, he kind of drew it out for a while, and then he said, it's an observation, it's not a complaint. The paint on that car is chipped. It's an observation. And then he said, the back on this body is in pain. It's an observation, it's not a complaint.
Oh my God.
And that really stuck with me because truly, you know, the body was for him just another object in his awareness. It was not him.
Oh my God.
But he was that. He was living everything that he was saying. It shouldn't have been surprising to me.
Amazing, really amazing. Okay. This is your travel experiences with him. So the next step is your camp experiences with Pujya Gurudev.
So from 1978 onwards, for some reason, I ended up, I was persuaded to imitate Swamiji, which seemed like a perfectly normal thing to do. So I used to have very long hair, which I curled under. So, and in those days he had hair up to his shoulders, so I simulated that. I borrowed Gulu uncle's orange kurta and somebody's orange sari as a, you know,
Dhoti.
As a dhoti. And I went up on the stage. There was a cultural program. The children were doing a skit, and I was helping organize that skit. And in the skit, there was a sadhu. So I became the sadhu. And then, without meaning to, I ended up imitating him. I didn't exactly plan it that way, but there was the BMI chart, and there was a pointer. So I picked up the pointer and I started doing that. So then everyone and all the children said, that's great. You know, you sound just like Swamiji. So then the night came when we were to perform, and Swamiji was sitting right in front in a chair with his legs crossed in front of him. And so I was just doing my thing, and I started imitating him. And then suddenly in the middle I must have realized that, you know, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And so I was doing things, and I was, you know, acting like him, giving the lecture.
You have to tell every word of what you enacted there.
I will try, but I know it was much more effective then.
Yeah.
I'm not 18, but I said something like this. The chart pointer was in my hand, and he used to like to open it, and there used to be a little pom-pom at the end. So he'd play with the pom-pom and go like this. So I said, the yum and I are the two wings of the PFT bird. PFT, what is that? I forget, you know. Perceiver, feeler, thinker. On these two wings you must glide into that experience divine. Krishna, Krishna. Think. There must have been something else, but at some point I was closing my eyes and I suddenly opened them. And I saw Swamiji right in front of me, and he's looking at me like that. He's boring holes into my, and so I'm looking at him like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then, so we're staring at each other, and then Swamiji started going to his beard like that. It was quite long. And without thinking, just looking at him, I'm going like that to an imaginary beard. And like that. And it seems, all I'm aware of is that Swamiji gave a roar, and he started laughing. And I closed my eyes again like, oh. But what I remember is that from both sides, people kind of stabilized him because they said he was laughing so hard he was going to fall off the chair. Because it was unexpected, right? It was very spontaneous and unexpected.
What did you study?
Oh, what did I study? I studied engineering, electrical engineering.
Okay. So, any anecdotes related?
Yes, he always said, engineer, and look at me. And I don't know what he meant by that, but he would just say that. So in Siddhabari once, 1992, January, I was there. This resident Swami there would put on the VCR and the TV. And oftentimes it was kind of flaky, it didn't work. So Swamiji called me, Renu, engineer, go there. And I was like, but they never taught me to do VCRs and TVs in college. That's not what I do, Swamiji, but I didn't. So I went there and I was just, praying, please, God, please let me do this. And I didn't know what to do. There were wires and things. And I said, is there a manual? And so, I thought maybe that'll tell me something. And Swamiji must have heard because he said, when in doubt, run to the Shastras. Whenever I asked him something that was really close to my heart, I told him in several times, I was just scared that he's going to go away and leave me. And that I was pretty sure that if he did, then I would have to curl up and die, or I didn't know what would happen. And he said, I will never leave you. I will never leave you. Once I said it in Siddhabari, I said, Swamiji, you're going to leave me. And he said I will never leave you. I never leave you. You keep leaving me. I said, no, I never leave you. He said, I have been with you since 1960 onwards. You are the one who leaves me. I will never leave my child. I was 33 when I got married. So I wrote to Swamiji that, I found this person. And so in Dr. Pillai's house on December 31st, 1992, Swamiji, Guruji was there, Sri Swamiji was there, and he gave us our rings and engaged us. 3 months to the day after our wedding, Sri Swamiji took Samadhi.
I want you to describe Pujya Gurudev in few words, what he really meant for you, and then conclude with the wonderful bhajans, 2 bhajans that he was fond of yours.
I would love to do the bhajans. I won't do them justice. But anyway, what Swamiji was to me, in the beginning, honestly, he was just a beacon, a beautiful form that in my childishness I was in love with, just like a gopi for Krishna. Honestly, I was, and that's why I didn't want to get married. How can that compete, right? So I was just so attached to his form that I think I didn't hear a word he said, honestly. And I think he knew that. And then I think that once he said something that never worship your guru, because your guru can disappoint you, not because of what the guru does, because of your imagination and your own shortcomings. So you can never worship your guru. And I don't know where I got this from, but I think after if the guru has left the body, you can.
That's true.
And so when he took Samadhi, we all thought that it was very difficult. Everybody found it very, very devastating. But I think then I knew that he's my Ishta Devata. So I don't ask him for things. I don't pray to him, because he wouldn't like that. He always said, your guru is not a donkey. He's not there to do things for you.
I know.
But he's my Ishta Devata in that. I don't know what an Ishta Devata is, but he's mine.
Yeah, I know. Because It's living with God.
No, it's better than that because he has form and he has a voice and he has. Sometimes I just have questions and I just put them there, knowing that when he wants to, he'll answer them. And the Hitler question is still a question, but he'll answer it when he feels like it.
Yeah,
You know.
true.
So, but even run of the mill, I have questions and I have no doubt, and he does. You know, the answer comes.
Yeah, true.
And sometimes even in his voice.
Yeah.
So,
That's wonderful. Now, sing those two wonderful bhajans that which Gurudev loved.
I will try.
Yeah.
I wish I were my mother singing them, but let me give it a go. I've never heard these compositions from anybody else. And a teacher once said he'll teach me how to sing it properly, but I said, no, I want to sing it exactly the way my mother sang it.
Okay.
So, anyway. दर्शन दीजो आए प्यारे दर्शन दीजो आए तुम बिन पिया तुम बिन प्यारे तुम बिन रहियो न जाए दर्शन दीजो आए प्यारे दर्शन दीजो आए जल बिन कमल चंद्र बिन रजनी तैसे तुम देखो बिन सजनी जल बिन कमल चंद्र बिन रजनी तैसे तुम देखो बिन सजनी आकुल व्याकुल फिरूं रैन दिन आकुल व्याकुल फिरूं रैन दिन विरह कले जो खाए विरह कले जो खाए तुम बिन पिया तुम बिन प्यारे तुम बिन रहियो न जाए दर्शन दीजो आए दिवस न भूख नींद नहीं रहना मुख सो कुछ नहीं कहना बहना कहा कहूँ कछु कहत नावे कहा कहूँ कछु कहत नावे दिन कर तपत बढ़ाए दिन कर तपत बढ़ाए तुम बिन पिया तुम बिन प्यारे तुम बिन रहियो न जाए क्यों तरसावो अंतर्यामी आन मिलो कृपा कर स्वामी क्यों तरसावो अंतर्यामी आन मिलो आन मिलो आन मिलो क्यों तरसावो अंतर्यामी आन मिलो कृपा कर स्वामी मीरा दासी जन्म जन्म की मीरा दासी जन्म जन्म की पड़े तुम्हारे पाँव पड़े तुम्हारे पाँव तुम बिन पिया तुम बिन प्यारे तुम बिन रहियो न जाए दर्शन दीजो आए प्यारे दर्शन दीजो आए
What is the other one?
The other one is कोई कछु कहे मन लागा रे कोई कछु कहे मन लागा ऐसी प्रीत लगी मोहन सो ऐसी प्रीत लगी मोहन सो ऐसी प्रीत ऐसी प्रीत ऐसी प्रीत सोने में सुहागा। जन्म जन्म का सोया मनवा सतगुरु शब्द से जागा रे, सतगुरु शब्द से जागा मन लागा रे, कोई कछु कहे मन लागा। भाई बंधु सुत कुटुंब कबीला टूट गया जो धागा रे। मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, मीरा के मीरा के मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर, भाग हमारा जागा रे, भाग हमारा जागा। कोई कछु कहे मन लागा रे, कोई कछु कहे मन लागा। That's it.